The Eurovision Song Contest. It's a state of play. It's a state of play. Get all the updates. Join the conversation with Alesia Michelle. Starting now. Oh my goodness, welcome to our State of Play. This is my program here on my YouTube channel where I cover all of the latest news happening in the Eurovision world, and sometimes we get to have special guests, which today we do, so I'm excited about that. But first, we have to kick off with y'all. So y'all are here. We are getting closer to Eurovision. It's crazy. Does it feel like we're basically 3 weeks away? Is it even 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away? Does it feel like that? Does it feel like it? Rehearsals are going to be kicking off and starting soon. We don't even have a rehearsal schedule yet, which feels a little late. I'm hoping the delegations have already received their rehearsal times and things like that. I am doing well. I am enjoying myself. The warm weather has finally hit the Washington, D.C. metro area, so I am very excited. It's the state of play. So we got folks from Sweden. Yes, happy Friday, even though over here, I believe the weekend starts on Thursday. Okay, on Thursday. All right. Okay, so yeah, T the one. It's only 2 weeks until we have a clear picture after rehearsal. I think this year is going to be really interesting. I am actually going to be filming my semifinal preferences and predictions video today. So after we have this conversation, I'm going to be getting into that. So don't be asking me about it right now. As people know, I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic about semifinal 2 than I am semifinal 1. Basically, there's more songs in semifinal 2 than semifinal 1 that I'm really bump into regularly. So yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. So Jan is asking, do you think the odds will shift a lot? Well, Roy is going to be joining us later today, and we're going to be talking about kind of all the potential anomalies in the odds. I actually think the odds are bunk this year. That's the theory I'm working with. I don't know. The odds have been more right than wrong, but I am thinking that this year might be a bunk Eurovision year. Why? And when I say bunk, according to the odds, I think it'll be bunk this year because last year we saw Eurovision week. We had a little flip happen, even though Nemo was number 1 in the odds. We had a little bit of movement, and it was sort of like Croatia was number 1 at one point. Was France ever number 1? France might have been number 1 at one point. It doesn't really matter. But I'm wondering if less people are wanting to bet and play on the odds this year, given some of the results that happened last year. So I do think about that. And then I also think that there might be less folks even, throwing the dollars down. That's just my theory. I don't know. But yes. Ooh, we're going to shout it out. Alt. Hey, Alesia from Surinamese Dutchman in Brazil. There's a lot happening there, okay? I was going to try to say something. I was going to try and get my language stuff together. So Tony's saying the odds will change a lot. Brado says, I'm really excited to see Cyprus live. The concept sounds really interesting. I'll tell you, that was a bit of news that we can touch on. So let's do a little roundabout with our news. So Adonis is saying, there's a news story. I had the opportunity to talk to Adonis, and I love the Czech team at Eurovision. I really, really do. I feel like Czechia needs to win Eurovision soon, and I actually think it's going to happen. Well, Adonis was quoted as saying, we don't want to overdo the staging. Now, we've seen a lot of people do too much. And I think with this song, the song is bombastic enough that you actually don't have to do too much on the stage. And then conversely, we have Kyle saying the staging will be bigger, more dramatic, and cooler. Okay, what were the things that Kyle was saying about the staging before? Because we know Norway loves a theme park, and I deeply want Kyle and Norway to not give us theme park staging. I want this to feel like a slick VMAs performance. We do not need to have, the medieval era with our armor on. I do want fire though. But the last live that we did, everyone was talking about them not having fire. So let's see. Another piece was from Kyle. I feel a lot of support from my Eurovision peers, and I think they're going a bit easier on me because in the back of their minds, they know I am 19. Everyone's taking good care of me, he says. That's really good because I think the narrative at Eurovision was a little bit different. Some of those narratives we had last year were a little bit different. Dr. Ross, do you expect a close result or a runaway winner? Right now, I'm actually expecting a closer result, I think. And I'm thinking a lot of potpourri with the televote, and I'm thinking a lot of potpourri with the jury. I think this idea that the juries will just kind of pool all their 12s in one direction. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. That's just my theory that I'm sitting with right now. Dino, I hope Cyprus's risk pays off, but we'll see. Gospodin says, I am so bored of everyone teasing something big in staging. And then we got some other people weighing on if it's going to be a close year or a runaway year. So Tony's living close result. Okay. Alone says, I love the dance break from Lighter. I don't mind the dance break. I don't think we need to drop that. To me, it was the aesthetics of the performance that were throwing me, other than the fire. It was the aesthetics. That was what I was doing, what I was thinking. Rose says, what do you need from Claude's performance? What I need from Claude's performance is intentionality. I need it not to feel like the Netherlands 2021. I need it not to feel like the Netherlands 2024. I need this to feel slick. I really need the Netherlands to pick up the phone and call some of these other creative directors. That's what I really need because I want Claude to make it. I think Claude will make it, but I've said that. So Lampro says people are allowed to fly. I just want to say that if the performers are allowed to fly, I think it's due to me. I think it's due to me. I've been saying for years, let these performers fly. Okay, if the performers can't fly, you're welcome. No. Brado says, I think Switzerland may win the jury. To be honest, her recent live performances have been amazing. Love her. Don't think it's going to happen. We have to be realistic. Would love that to happen, actually, because I think it's a really quality song. I think it should do well with juries, period. It should. But I am fully preparing myself for a Jardim situation. So maybe I'm being the wet blanket of realism and I am, squashing the flames of dreams and optimism. I don't want to be that person, but sometimes we have to get in there. Tank the player says Sweden has 38% and Austria 15%. Okay. Yeah. Oh wait, K-pop high from Germany. We're having high expectations. Don't have them if the girl ain't singing live. Don't have them for that. But I do think the song is a banger. Dino says France feels like my safe bet for winning right now. Okay. Vil, do you think Malta will qualify or might struggle to seeing their Malta's qualifying this year? Malta is qualifying this year. Don't you worry. It's not. Malta's making it. All right. Well, I am excited because we're going to kick off our first, sort of portion of the evening. Well, evening for you all, afternoon for me, lunchtime for me, actually. I am hungry. But we're going to be breaking down the Big 5 plus Switzerland. We haven't really done a lot of that on the channel. And bringing up to the stage, it is Josh, also known as Simple Things. It's so great to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Nice to see you as well.
Okay, and you're calling from where?
Scotland.
Scotland. Okay, and we need basically the UK to win so then we can go to Scotland for Eurovision. Like that's what we need to have happen, correct?
We were very close with Glasgow a few years ago, so you never know, might happen again. Hope it does. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay. But let's break this down because we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to break this down. So chat, get ready. We're talking about the Big 5 plus Switzerland. And let's kick off with our host country. I mean, what are you feeling right now? again, I'm deeply nervous. I'm thinking that Switzerland is going to get Au Jardin this year.
I
I'm not
do,
saying it deserves it, but what do you think?
I do get that feeling. I see where people are coming from with it. Although, although it might not get the best result in the contest, I still think on the night it's going to be magical with the audience there. It's just going to be a great atmosphere. She's a great storyteller as well, so it'll be interesting to see what she brings on stage. I know that our creative director, same as Ireland last year, so it'll be interesting to see how he switches that completely for this, because obviously that staging won't work in this instance. But yeah, great, great voice as well. I do have a soft spot in this. I know one of the songwriters is actually Scottish, so nice little connection there. So yeah,
Yeah, I want to highlight one of the comments. So, the limp. I think your average ESC viewer also thinks it's too soon for Sweden to bring it back. Oh, okay. This is not about Switzerland, okay? We're going to keep this. So wait. Peter says Switzerland will flop with the televotes unfortunately, but I don't think we're here talking about televotes for Switzerland. I think we are focusing on jury love. I do think that Switzerland should be recognized by the juries and maybe get a little bit of like the Estonia treatment with bridges. Like I could see something like that where then it does end up doing quite well. Chris says Zoe's stage director is the same as Ollie last year. And then Edo says, I think she'll get a similar result to Bulgaria 2021. Okay, that's not too bad. That's definitely not too bad, especially for like a host country. Well, let's pivot a little bit and let's maybe talk about France because from one French song to another, Happy says Switzerland has a lot of French language competition, but there's no way it's coming dead last. I hope so. So, yeah, like what are you thinking about France this year, Josh?
now France, clearly it's one of the favourites to win, and rightfully so. Again, another storyteller. It just works so well. I have to say though, when it was first announced and it was in the Stade de France, I was sitting there and I was in full rugby mode because it was France v Scotland. So I was focusing on that. And it didn't really connect with me. Also, the rush of switching from the British broadcast to YouTube because for some reason they didn't broadcast it in the UK, which I don't know if people know that. So, yeah, had to quickly rush across. It didn't really sit with me, and I also think the staging of it didn't work. But with the pre-party performances that she's done, it has clicked and it works so well. And you know that France is going to stage it, so it's definitely a top five.
Yeah, I'm still living in a world where I think France has a chance because I do think what they're giving is something people at home, even casual folks, do tend to gravitate towards and tend to gravitate towards for France. You know, there is something about like I think acceptant expectancy
Yeah,
bias where some
well, that's
countries
yeah,
yeah,
shame.
like some countries, you want to see certain things from them. And I do think France is giving people what they kind of want to see from them, as long as France stages this tastefully, which I think with Luan, I think she'd kind of say no if they decided to stick an Eiffel Tower there in the background. I think she'd be like, no thanks. And if they keep it really simple and warm, I think on the stage, it could do well. Well, let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about Spain. How are you feeling about Spain's entry this year at Eurovision?
Really like it. As soon as I reacted to it on Benidorm Fest, I was like, I love the energy here. Um, I, d- I don't think it will do that well, unfortunately. But, you know, she's coming here, she's bringing the power, and that is what us Eurovision fans like. Um, and great, strong vocal as well. I know that she had one off note, I think it was in the semi final, but at every pre party, she has been bang on. Um, yeah, dance movement, dance moments, choreography, she's got it. And that, what more can you ask for?
Okay, well, we've got some folks from the comments, so I'm going to highlight. So Tony says, love the Spanish song, but Melody over sings it. I actually think Melody is the star of this performance. I'm not really minding her in it. To me, my only breakdown with this is truly the composition and production elements and choices. It just becomes a song that I'm not going to personally listen to in the car for me personally. But I do think this year at Eurovision, so many of like the entries, I don't really feel like it's giving studio cut. To me, it's giving full stage show, television show, kind of variety hour sort of thing. So I hesitate in sort of saying, oh, I don't really like it because I know watching it, I will enjoy it. You know what I mean? But
You come
listening to
alive
it,
on that stage, and that is the moment that matters most.
yeah, it does. And I do think, and I think Spanish Eurovision fans who are happy with this entry, I think they are hoping for a little bit, well, I think they're hoping to benefit from that expectancy bias. I think they are thinking this is what people want to see from us and hear from us. And I think that's why you see some folks thinking like maybe it could come top 10. Uh, I don't know. I think it could be maybe like top 15.
Yeah,
But I'll be real. Let me hop into some of these comments. So Augusto says the song deserves bottom five. Ooh. Because of melody, it finished top 50. If it finished top 15, please don't be surprised. She's great. Um, so what else are we saying? Okay, Dino, honestly, I'll be surprised if Spain is top 15. She deserved a better song, okay? Peter says the revamp is a little better, but it isn't coming higher than 20th. Ooh. Okay. Matthew, I think Spain will get drowned out in the final, surrounded by other showy entries. Well, that's hoping that we get some of these showy entries because I do think that there is going to be quite a bit of bombast left on the table this year in the semis. I am clocking that. And I think some quiet songs might still, and I should say maybe Eurovision atypical songs might have a chance to crack through. Tune says Spain is bottom 10 vibes. Okay, Gospodin says, I actually think Essa Diva has great verses, especially in a revamp, but the chorus is so underwhelming. I think she will make it top 15. Okay, so I think we're mostly living in a top 15 era and to
yeah.
close yeah, and to close out, Michelle says the song isn't great. Melody is a great performer, though. Okay, Josh, I'm wondering how are you feeling about Italy this year?
Italy. As soon as I heard this, I was like, that could be a John Lewis Christmas advert. It's just got that feeling to it. It feels a bit like Elton John, David Bowie, that kind of style. I also really like his aesthetic. I like that he's being bold about it. Um, he's a real musician, and that's what I feel. It feels quite fresh for Italy to do something like this. It doesn't feel as structured. It just feels quite natural. Um, and I think it'll do better than people expect on the night. Um, it's more of a jury friendly song, but I do think the UK actually will quite like this.
Okay, I mean, I do think I think that this song there is appeal to it. Uh, but I think that this will be one of Italy's lower results in recent years. And it's interesting because so many people get touchy when I say that, and it's not about really even personal preference. I'm just trying to make predictions based off trends of what we've seen work and not work on the Eurovision stage. I think that this is an actual well crafted, good song. Like, this is just good music. But let's be real, it didn't even win San Remo. It didn't
Uh,
even win. So to think that it is going to come to Eurovision and be like a lock for the top 10, and when someone says, "Is it?" and then you're confused as to why they would say that, I'm like, "Well, it didn't even win San Remo." So, I mean, we're already talking about something that wasn't number one there. And so and let's be real, I don't think San Remo always gets it right. Okay, so we can keep that in mind. But I don't think that it is ridiculous to think that this one might struggle a little bit. What are the folks in the comments saying? So, GR Romance says Italy feels bland. Happy says top 10 solidly for Italy. I'm not living there. Even though I think that this is a weaker year, like I think Italy coming top 10 for me, I don't see that this year,
more
but it could.
to 15th. realistically, in my opinion.
Okay.
Not going to be hard hitter, but I think in between 10, 15, 16, that kind of area.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that this is one of the worst songs we have this year by a mile. I mean, let's be very clear. It's not one of the worst entries that we have this year. But, I do wonder about the stickiness of it, and I think it really rests on running order because I could truly see it becoming forgettable in the running order. But again, like I said, I think we could lose, yeah, we could lose some bombast in the semis. So, yeah. Um, Nil Era says Lucio was an underdog in Sanremo and beat out huge names there out of nowhere. Cool. Um, what do we said? Steven, Italy's replacement for Ali is so much better. Okay, but we're not talking about Ali. We're talking about the song that we got and how it's going to stack up against the rest. Kevin says it gives no degree of separation, and that's honestly where I was kind of living a little bit. And then Thalimp says Italy and Spain will end up in the bottom five. I, and I want to be clear, I don't really think Italy deserves to be there. Well, let's see. Okay, what are you thinking about the UK this year, Josh?
Well, little bit biased, but I'm a theatre person, so I absolutely loved it from the get go. But it's the UK, so I'm always going to be that little bit, prefer it a little bit more than people say. Um, Realistically, I see this around the 15th place mark. It's not going to be top five unless they come out with some spectacular staging, which they could, but realistic mindset around the 15th would be quite nice. I don't think we're going for the win yet. I think a few years' time we're trying to build up to that, and that's what they need to do. But the girls, they're fantastic, great vocals, and the press tour that they've been doing, great set off, and it's actually really nice to see that because it worked for Sam, and Ollie and me didn't do that, so you never know, might work out in a good favour. Yeah, so I really like it, but always going to.
Yeah, so I want to highlight one comment from Faith. Hopefully, the Belgian entry has a trigger warning for those who suffer from seizures due to strobe lights. Alesia Michelle, it's a good song because of the aforementioned title. There might be a need. Okay, they probably, I mean, certain countries require a trigger warning for things like that, the UK being one of them. So we're talking about the UK, but thank you for that, Faith. Lori says, UK hasn't clicked with me since Sam Ryder. Goss Foden, I love UK song this year. It actually feels organic, and it's my favorite UK entry since 2017. Michelle, I think the jury could like it and give it points. I don't think the public will give it many points, unfortunately. Here's my thing with the UK. I think that this doesn't deserve a two in front of it. I don't think that this deserves to be in the bottom 20 this year. Here are the challenges. I do think that although the issue that the UK has had in recent years has been the vocal performance. The staging has been fine. The tracks have been good. I think it's been the vocal performance. But here's the challenge as I see it this year. It seems like most of our performers this year actually are good vocalists, and they have been able to sustain and keep up their vocals. So remember Monday's going to have competition. I think folks know this. This is not my genre of music. I do not listen to Taylor Swift. I like folk, like if we're talking country, I like folk music. I like, stuff. So think, even Indim vetri acaso, right? I like folk music kind of, but this is like country pop, country rock. It's not really my thing. In general, it's not really my thing. So this is not one of my favorite studio cuts to listen to, but I like it. Again, what I'm talking about is this year is an interesting year at Eurovision because so many of the entries, they're not relying on the studio cut. This is about how people are going to sort of appreciate the whole performance, and what's happening live. So yeah, Augusto says, I love the UK song this year. It reminds me of Little Mix and O'Gene. Philip Cook. UK grew off me quite quickly, but I loved it on my initial listen. I think people, for folks that are like, oh, it grew off of me, it's going to be different because you've never seen it live. You've never really seen them perform it live. So I think that for those of you who, when you first heard it, you were like, oh, this is good. I think that you could end up really appreciating it with what they decide to do live. And I think for people like me who are like, it's not really my genre, I think they could like it because it's like, oh, but this performance was so great. You've won me over. Because I'm a sucker for a good vocal and a well executed, like clean show. Okay, but speaking of vocals, and closing out this segment, what do you think of Germany? Because I've been real clear about my opinions of Germany. It's la 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 la. I'm feeling the track. What do you think?
It's a great song. I'm just very concerned about the vocal, and it's not vocally ambitious. So I'm just, she really needs to bring it on the night, and I'm sure she will. And sometimes you need that rest before the contest to get your voice back, because on so many occasions we've had vocalists do really well at the pre-parties, but then by the time the contest comes, their voice is tired, especially at the rehearsals as well. So maybe that's a good thing. Um, it's obviously clubby, reminds me slightly of Austria 2022. So the whole thing needs to be staged right. And I don't know who's doing their staging, maybe somebody knows in the comments. But you really need that club vibe. I feel like the national final performance, it just felt a bit too calm for it to be clubby. I want a bit more energy, and I'm worried that Belgium's going to cancel it out slightly just because it's got that instant impact. Yeah, just got that feeling about it. If they do something like Lithuania last year, it could completely flip, and I could love it.
Yeah, it's always a challenge to try and create a party on stage with a song that is just so clearly a party song. I always say I get nervous about my young performers because I'm gonna be real with y'all. I know the vocal and that she's been sick and everything. Y'all, this is not a vocally difficult song to sing. There's really no vocal moments in it.
It's just all
Now
a
y'all
bit.
know I love the song. I love it. I don't necessarily need a vocal moment personally. I don't. So I'm gonna need you to be able to hit the notes that are on the page because they're not that hard. Now the song is vocally challenging in the sense it's fast. It's a lot of words. The enunciation is like, ooh, okay, we're going all over here. So I will give it props there. But I just think if this sounds like the studio cut on stage and they are able to turn this into a party, I would love to see it come top 10.
It
I would
very
love to
well
see it come
could.
top 10. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to live on optimism. Thank you so much, Josh. In the description, you will see a link to Josh's channel. Make sure you go over and subscribe. I'm sure we'll be talking again. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank
All right. So we talked a little bit about the Big Five and, Switzerland, our host this year. Now we're going to break down the odds, which I think is fun. And some of y'all already had questions about the odds. So bringing up to the stage is Roy. I mean, Roy, you've got your own channel. You're also on ESC United and everything. You're everywhere.
Yeah, I've got my own channel, Roy PM, as you can see, as my name. But yeah, I'm also with ES United. We'll be there on the ground again this year and doing all sorts of videos and commentary on the rehearsals, hopefully, as much as we can see this year. Not really dug into how much we can actually show or see, but hopefully we can still be able to provide you guys with insights and stuff on all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Roy and I met in Turin.
Yes.
And I have to say, because you've probably heard me say this before, brave to you to want to talk about rehearsals. I'm not talking about a thing that I'm not even planning on speaking on a thing that I have no insights on. I'm going to live in my world of being in DC abroad, sitting in this chair, maybe not sitting in this chair, this exact chair, but watching the shows with folks that way. But I'm curious to see the energy of the rehearsals and what the buzz and narrative kind of is without people, being able to kind of push these things out. I'm curious to see if this shakes up the odds as much as it has in previous years, or if we'll see it be a little bit stagnant, but then things go crazy after like semifinal one, and just seeing a whole bunch of shifts and things like that. So I've set up enough. What are the big things that are kind of screaming out to you with the odds? I don't know if we want to start with the semis. I don't know if, and we don't have so much time. I don't know if we want to look at the overall odds. You tell me.
Yeah, when I initially said I wanted to talk about odds, I had like a specific country in mind because I thought it was really peculiar that Serbia was doing really poorly in the odds, especially after the running order slot they got and the history they've got in the competition as well. But recently it's kind of started to climb into the top 10 and it is sitting there right now. But I still am quite surprised it's only just being considered borderline. And of course, you have to put to aside that your personal bias and stuff that will always be there. But I found it just really interesting that that was such a very low in the odds because I think it's giving a different kind of ballad that's not really present in that semifinal. Like Czechia is doing sort of a pop ballad thingy with a dance break, so it's kind of not really pulling that vote either. So I thought Serbia would be a really good pick to put some betting money on in that sense and it driving it up in the odds. And I thought it was really interesting that it wasn't really doing that for a lot of people. So yeah, that one stood out to me the most in semifinal too.
Okay. I mean, I think with Serbia, where I'm living is, obviously, we think about the songs that got away, lighters. I think Serbia had more competitive options for Eurovision that would have been, lock qualifiers. But I've always said that I think, a good looking guy with a good voice. And I think Serbia actually does stage pretty well. So I was expecting this to look good and sound good. But where I'm sitting right now, I think that Serbia is going to just miss out because I do think, although the direct competition of ballads isn't high, we do still have some other ballads in the mix that I think are locks. And for the people who sort of like that genre, I think that they have something to pick there. But, if we talk about that, so if you're talking about Serbia being in, I'm curious your thoughts around, because I think just on the other side, in the world of non-qualification are Ireland and Denmark. So I want to focus on those.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, yeah, the odds are currently right that like Serbia's got the edge over Ireland and Denmark?
Yeah, I especially Ireland being so early on in the running order, I think that really hurts his chances. And it is definitely very catchy, but it will be overshadowed by other similar or not similar, but like catchy songs that will be on top of people's mind later on in the running order. And Denmark, I feel like everybody. This is maybe a little bit more my opinion, but I feel like everybody agrees that she's a really good vocalist and that it's a good song. But I fear that it's one of those songs that people go like, okay, that was decent, and then not really vote for it, if that makes sense. Like it won't be a type of song that you pick as your favorite of the night to put your televote points to, basically. And yeah, I fear that that's not going to be enough for Denmark, where Serbia is definitely pulling from one market, being ballad lovers with a good vocal and a good looking guy, like, let's be honest. I think it has a lot more markets to pull the votes from, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay. Well, we're living there. Any other like peculiarities that you see maybe in semifinal two?
I think Armenia and Latvia could be a little bit closer. I'm not certain they will make it, but I feel like they are very different. And I think songs that are very different, yes, it can definitely backfire, but it could also really be a case for why people vote for it. Because being different, if there's one song like Latvia in the semifinal, there's only one girl group performing there really with their beautiful voices and harmonies. If people love that, then that's the only song that they can allocate their votes to. So I think it's really interesting that it's quite far off the qualification mark. And similar with Armenia, yeah, I get why the fandom is not very behind this type of song, but it's more of like a laddie song, you know, where people are like, oh, let's have a beer in the hand, yo, la, 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 that kind of stuff. And there will be people that will also like that. And there's only one type of song in that semifinal. So yeah, if those markets come to masses to vote for it, it could be a lot closer than what the odds may seem like. And especially semifinal 2, I think that is definitely the case.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and you highlighted sort of Serbia, and you bring up Latvia, because to me, the fact that Latvia, according to the odds, is out, I would even, and I do want to just note on Armenia. I said from the beginning, even though I thought the vocal performance from what we could hear from the national selection was, I mean, god awful, and according to me. But I mean, we've heard him sing it since, and so it's like, okay, maybe it really was like a tech issue because he was on the pitching key. But I always thought that it was somewhat of an attractive package. It's bombastic, it's booming. I think what hurts Armenia, though, is unfortunately the running order, and that's where Serbia has an advantage. But I raise you with this. Serbia has had stronger, I think, more quality songs that people have really rallied around in the past, and they were just scraping through, notably the last 2 years. And so this one, where you don't really have, I think, that fervency around the entry and the track record being sort of already like you're kind of qualifying by the skin of your teeth. I think conversely, with what Latvia is giving, something so Eurovision, ethnic, but also visually appealing, not just sonically, but visually appealing. I'm living in a world where I think I'm sort of sitting with the odds like ahead of time, like where Bambi Thug was last year. And I was like, I actually think it's like a safe qualifier, and it's qualifying like not even like borderline, because I kind of have faith in the live. I think I'm sort of living there with Latvia, where I'm like, I don't care what the odds are saying. Like, I'm thinking that it's like, okay, yeah, just Latvia doesn't have budget to do, promotional odds betting for them. But, but I don't know. I'm curious, what do you think about Luxembourg's entry this year? You think they're safely qualifying?
I don't think they're safely qualifying. I think they're more in the bracket with Ireland and Denmark, also competing for similar votes. And it helps them that they are very late in the running order, being a bit more surrounded by ballady songs. So it stands out in that way. But it's also a country that's quite small and doesn't really have a super big diaspora either. So it's not really got that much pulling from there. So it's an all right song. I'm not sure if it is definitely a qualifier, though.
Okay.
Like for me personally, I would have put Latvia and Serbia in above that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, we have a question. Steven says, who will qualify but not do well in the grand final? Who do you think?
That's an interesting question. It also depends on who qualifies from semifinal 1, I think. But if we have to solely base it on semifinal 2, it could be something like Lithuania, something like that. I think that will qualify, and then I mean it will still stand out. So maybe that's going to be its saving grace in a way. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's one of those songs that will be, I don't know, like 20th, something like that in the grand final, something like that.
Okay, okay. Well, we've talked about semifinal two. I'm curious a little bit of your overview thoughts on semifinal one when it comes to the odds. As I said at the beginning of the stream, easily my least favorite semi, I think, in years.
Interesting.
And I mean that mostly because it is probably like I really only care about like 4 songs as studio cuts.
Yeah.
Studio cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think these are also really interesting. Like the fact that San Marino is a qualifier, while we know the track record of not only San Marino, but also DJ kind of songs being staged at Eurovision, is quite interesting. And especially if you look at percentages, that there's quite a gap between San Marino and the 5 that they think will non-qualify. And I think that's quite interesting because, like I said, it's not been the greatest track record for San Marino. It's a small country that maybe has Italy as a... Does Italy vote in semifinal 1? I forgot.
I think they do. Yeah, they do. They do.
That could really help. But then you also have Estonia that will get points from them, and Albania will get points from Italy. And like, it's good that Italy is there, to be honest, but I'm not sure if that song will be staged well enough, because we saw in the national final that there's this guy with a mask singing the song, and people at home ultimately just want to really connect to the one performing the song, and in this case, that's the DJ who's not singing the song, and that's always a bit of a disconnect with the DJ type songs, and I feel like San Marino is the one I would be taking out of the qualification spots in this semifinal.
It's interesting. Yeah, I said that ultimately I want San Marino's song like in the final. Like I just want
Totally.
it there because I want it for an option of opening the show or closing it. This is my personal opinion. I don't think it has to be there to get any points or make moves, so I wanted that. But I had to reconcile with myself that I was like, look, if the singers really are just not willing to actually perform the track for us, I'm not fighting for them. I will let it go. I'm not going to fight with anyone in the comments about the merit of having San Marino advance. I think we really need someone to sell it. You know, on my channel, I don't know if it's just my channel, but there's a lot of people saying that Belgium might not qualify, and I don't know if they're just saying it for track record or if because they just really detest the song. Because I am living in a world where Belgium is not only qualifying, it is doing so comfortably, particularly in this lineup.
It's interesting because I always do a series on my channel where I let my friends who are not Eurovision fans react to all the songs, and I always get a bit of a different viewpoint of what certain songs will be perceived as, which is also why I think Serbia might do well, because actually quite a few really enjoyed Serbia a lot, and I'll have a scoreboard in the end where it will actually get quite a few points here and there as well. But Belgium also wasn't really received incredibly well, which is odd, because I expected them to love it very much, especially because it's a neighboring country as well, and like we love that kind of music. But yet people were a bit off-put by his delivery, his especially in the lower range. Like he seems a little bit insecure there. Like the higher range, he's like, "Oh, I got this, I'm nailing it." So people seem to really pick up on that. So if they have a little bit of an empty staging and maybe his vocals still being a bit insecure in the low registers, yeah, it could be a little bit flat, and maybe people will not vote for it then. And there's also Cyprus, which might cannibalize a few votes from them and stuff.
Well, I do think the direct competition is fierce in
Yeah.
this for the dudes in
Yeah.
semifinal one, and I do think that there are some real potential canceling out scenarios.
Yeah.
But I do feel more like I feel honestly more confident about Belgium than I do Cyprus, and I think
Yeah.
mostly because with Cyprus, have we gotten like a proficient full live performance in a staging situation? You're shaking your head.
No.
No, we have not. Yeah,
No,
because
he has not been at any pre-parties or anything
okay,
like that, but also I haven't seen any live performance of him really, so that makes me a little bit worried
okay.
as well, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, yeah. So I think having a little bit of fear there. Any last things for the overall odds? Because I mean, if we're talking overall odds, I mean,
Hmm.
Sweden is just far and away at the top. I mean, with almost
Yeah.
40% chance of
Yeah.
winning this year. Do you think it's right? Like, do you
It
feel like it's more right than not? We've got Austria way behind, actually,
yeah.
in that mix. What are you thinking?
It's definitely like a massive landslide at the moment, but it's also because we know the full package of what Sweden will be bringing. Like we know the staging, we know exactly how the guys will be performing in it, and it will be very, very solid. Like even the juries will probably give it quite some votes. And it's also, of course, skewed because Sweden has such a good track record, and batters ultimately the odds change by people putting money on songs that they think will win. And I can totally understand with the track record, you've already seen the package, that they would be like, okay, I'm going to put some money on it. But of course, it is very skewed to, Sweden at the moment. And I don't think it is going to be that much of a landslide on the scoreboard ultimately. I do think they are slightly the favorite for me as well at the moment. But for example, like literally the last couple of days, we had Czechia rise into the odds into sixth place. And I just cannot see how that happened or where that's coming from.
Could I
Do
tell
you know?
you?
Yes.
Well, I don't really know, but I my sneaking suspicion is the fact that Adonis is a extremely proficient performer, start to finish. I think I had even said that I was like, of the like boy bops this year, this is the one that I feel like could do the best with the juries, like in many ways. You know, Austria not being in that category of boy bop, so because it's opera. So I really felt of the, you know, Belgium, Norway, Cyprus. I'm like, I think Adonis really is in charge of the boys this year. And so I think just off that, that's where I think, and I think that there is a reliability with it. And I think Czechia has gotten it right more than they've gotten it wrong with the staging. So even though we don't really know what it's going to look like it's probably going to do well. And again, I really think that Czechia has the chance to do quite well with some juries at Eurovision this year. And it's really because Adonis is really like a seasoned performer. This is not someone who's just got this opportunity coming off of, you know, like maybe an idol show or something. So where maybe they've done some performances, but it's different when you're an artist and you're kind of singing an original song and it's your point of view and all of that. I don't know. That's my theory.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that he's a great vocalist. Like his voice sounds really rich and really really nice to the ear, and every live performance he's basically nailed as well. It's interesting that you put it in the category with the boy bops because I never thought of it in that way. It's more like a popified ballad for me, nearly with a dance break in the middle. So I'm rather of thinking that it might cannibalize from those things like. It's not really a bop, so people won't really vote for it that like the bops, but it's also not really fully a ballad, so people who like ballads will maybe also not vote for it. So yeah, I could see it going both ways with that one, but maybe there will be people that would put some money on it to be like, okay, it's a bit different in the lineup, you know, ballady, but also with a dance break could be cool, something like that. So maybe that's why, but I can't really see them winning Eurovision with this song.
I will tell you, I'd love to see it, but
Mhm.
I don't know. The probability is low that it would occur, but I would low key love to see it. Well, Roy, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have all the fun in Basel. I hope you are able to come back with some coins still in your pocket.
I hope so too. I've already got my pockets deep with coins, but I think those will really shrink, and it's not because of the washing it too hot, but yeah, it's an expensive country. On that note, like Czechia winning would be a dream because that's a lot cheaper.
Let's go. Prague.
I would love
Okay. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye. All right, y'all. Well, I'm here. I hope you're okay with me being here. I think in this last little bit of 10 minutes that we have, 7 to 10 minutes, let's hop into this. What have I not talked about that you want to hear about? And also, if you made it this far, oh my goodness, you haven't already liked this video? If you haven't already subscribed, please like this video and please do subscribe. I have so much content coming for you. We've got another Ladies' Choice Live on the docket to go down. It's going to be happening, I think, on a Sunday. So real easy. Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon. You know, you're probably sitting at home not doing that much anyway, so you want to check that out. We're going to be doing a battle of the genre. So much like what we were talking about with the direct competition, we're putting the songs sort of in groupings and figuring out like who is the champion of the genre. So yeah, you won't want to miss that. And of course, I will be broadcasting live during all the semifinals and the grand final, and a special treat this year because the location that I will be at for the grand final, you're going to want to tune in. It's going to be pretty cool. All right, well, let me hop into these comments. Okay, let me see what y'all are talking about. So Sarah's son, Alesia, who's going to be a surprise qualifier? Well, I think Latvia's making it. I think it's possible. And I'll even say, I think it's possible for Ireland to make it. How about that? Because I guess they would be considered surprises at this point because I think the odds are saying that they're probably out. Lifesaver 996 says, hot take, Serbia is the only ex-Yugo country in the final. I'm biased and I don't care. I mean, look. Serbia is giving us that Balkan ballad, and they're doing it well. Do I need it in the final? Not really. But do I want to have a final with no, like, ex-Yugo countries there? Absolutely not. And so to me, pick your poison. Either you want Serbia, like I would prefer Montenegro. I'm gonna just be real with y'all. If it was a jury or a televote of only me, I would be pulling over Montenegro. hmm That's what I would be going. But I think it's either Serbia or real talk, y'all don't want to talk about it, but Slovenia. Because Serbia could most certainly lose out. Semifinal two is way more competitive. The running order isn't really a gift if people have already decided who their favorites are. By the time they get to Serbia, it's like, oh, I'm hungry. I need some snacks. So that's a real thing. Despoina, are you making a video with your winner's prediction? Well, I never do a video of predicting who I think the winner is going to be, but I do a winner potential video, and that will be coming out pretty soon. Um, Prim, do you think Lithuania can do well in the grand final? Here's my thing. I don't think they have to do well in the grand final. I just think they have to get there this year. But I actually do think Lithuania is just being kind of underplayed in Eurovision fan spaces because this genre isn't really the things that I think the fan base tends to rate super high. Peter, I'm excited to see your predictions for semifinal two, especially. I got some. I got some. Um, Jan, what do you think about the hosts this year? Hmm, we'll see how they do. Like, that's how I'm feeling. I'm not familiar with these people's work, so I wouldn't say that I have high expectations, which low key is a good thing, because then I can be like, oh wow, like this is really good. Um, T the one, do you think this year is more conducive to a fun song winning this year than what would usually be the case? I mean, well, look, Sweden is running away with the top slot in the odds. So I guess we have to say that yes, it is. Lampros, the EBU has made a new rule regarding what flags are allowed in the arena. Well, there's always rules about the flags. So, yeah. Mike, Alicia, who do you think could be the shock non-qualifier this year? Well, according to you, well, if I was listening to you all, then I would say Serbia, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know that that would be that shocking. I do think Luxembourg could miss out. I think the locals could really eat it up, and that's the only reason why I think it could make it. Um, but perhaps it doesn't because there's already a lot of like, eyes on semifinal two. It's really more competitive than semifinal one. And then shock non-qualifier at this point. Honestly, though, I think I should answer this, though. Short answer, I don't really think we're going to have shock non-qualifiers or qualifiers this year. I think the televote has been pretty consistent, and I think in recent years, since we've not had the jury showing up in the semifinals, I think the semifinals have not been that shocking, actually. So I'm living more in that world. Marcus, what do you think of Finland's chances of winning? I I don't want to use buzzwords or anything like that to kind of track what I think I'm tracking, but I am shocked that more of the fandom, well, I'm shocked and not shocked that more of the fandom isn't rating Finland higher. I'll leave it at that. Loris, I kind of wish we would get something surprising like a winner, surprising like the winner, something, and having it be like something that not everyone would expect. I mean, I think it's always kind of a little bit of a like, oh, okay, the winner is who we thought it was going to be. Like there is always a little bit of like, oh, okay, like a shock winner would be just what Eurovision needs, I think, to invigorate folks. Because I think I've been saying this year has felt a little bit low energy all around. And I think people are still sort of shell shocked from everything that went down last year at Eurovision. And I think even just stuff that's going on in the world where it's like, here's this kind of pocket, this utopia that we've created for ourselves of escapism. And now it's not. You know what I mean? It's not. Um, and then in Vino Veritas, Slovenia, and hopefully Latvia. Oh, this is, I think, to the question of like shock. I'm hoping. Oh, wait, shock qualifiers or like who's gonna not make it and who makes it. Um, okay. Okay. Matthew says I'm not gonna be out in the streets for them, but if Portugal qualify, remember who you heard it from. Here's the thing. I would act if it was me, if this was a televote of me, I would be qualifying Portugal. I would be qualifying them. So there's that. Uh, the Luca Leon, I'm convinced Montenegro is qualifying and ending up 16th place, and it will be the only ex-Yugo finalist. Well, I would be happy living there. Happy shock non-qualifier might be Greece. I don't think it'd be that shocking if the staging is not good, because here's the thing. Um, it won't be shocking if the staging isn't good. I think we are all hoping that the staging is good. Yeah, so I think we can live there. um, ESC Bergen says I'll be voting for Napa in the semi. And Gospodin, do you think that this will be an anomaly year? If Sweden or Austria win at the end of this, it's not an anomaly year. It's not. Yeah, it's not. I would even argue if Finland were to win, it's not an anomaly year. So yeah, I mean, I think the Netherlands winning would be an anomaly. I think France winning would be an anomaly. Czechia winning would be an anomaly. A welcome one. A welcome one. But if Sweden or Austria bring this home, it's going to feel very much so within, I think, some patterns a little bit. And lest we forget that next year's the 70th. So we want to go big for the 70th. We want the 70th to feel like this big tent event. We want to utilize the 70th to, I believe, pull in some folks who maybe never been exposed to Eurovision at all. I think we want to use the 70th as like the reset of all resets next year. I think we want it to be, no separate Euro Fan Cafe, Euro Club. No. We want to go big next year for the 70th. And let me just say this right now. If you're watching this and you don't want you don't want us to like go big for the 70th, then this is not the channel for you. Well, that is our state of play. If you haven't already, please like this video. Please do subscribe. You can also follow me at Alesia Michelle pretty much everywhere that there is a social media handle involved. So please connect to me there. We're going to be back. I've got, again, my video with my predictions is coming out. We're going to have our winner potential conversation where we're really going to break down like who truly has a chance at winning this year. We're going to talk about it. So please stay tuned. I'm excited for Eurovision 2025. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you to my guests, Josh and Roy. Find their informations, like, subscribe, watch the content. Because, yeah, we need more Eurovision content. Don't we? Don't we? We do. Thank you for watching.